Awesome. Hello, hello. As Phyllis would say, all you beautiful people, thank you for
Oh, my
joining us.
beautiful ones.
Oh, sorry, I'm from beautiful ones. Thank you for joining us again for another pause episode. We are here with the lovely, lovely Shana
Mhm.
Goodridge. As you may or may not know, she is the founder of Pegcity Steppers, and I'll let her do a whole introduction of herself. But yes, thank you for taking the time to join us again. Shana, so good to have you. I know you have a schedule, as we all do. Um, but we were talking a few weeks ago, and a little bit of might be TMI, but we've had to reschedule. We've had to work around. And so I'm super, super grateful for your time because I know that
So
there's
am I. So am I.
a
Yes.
lot expected of you. I know. So thank you. And the community will be very grateful, I'm sure, at the end of this episode.
Thank
Um,
you.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. And thank you so much for putting up with all my reschedules and
We live pause, so we recognize don't sweat the small stuff.
exactly.
So
yes,
we are
indeed, indeed.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So if you're familiar with pause already, there is this unspoken thing that we love stories. We love just getting into people's perspective, getting into people's understanding. And we wanted to just start off by sharing a bit about you and your story and your background. Because we all know that life is a journey. And on that journey, you go through things. You go through easy, you go through tough. And as you're going through those moments, it's establishing who you are as an individual. And so
Mhm.
we want to know how Shana is the way that she is today and a little bit about your organization to
We
start.
want to know about Shanna first, the person, the human behind
Let's
Peg
focus
City.
right on the human. Let's
Yeah,
focus.
hone in on that, please.
All right. And you know what? People always tell me that I'm such a social butterfly and all of these fancy things. But to me, I'm a bit of both. When I'm in a social setting, I can be very extroverted, but then I also am so introverted. And when it comes to talking about myself, I always like kind of pause and think, okay, what should I talk about?
Mm,
But for today's conversation, I wanted to zoom in on Shanna, the person, the individual, what drives her. And for me, as far back as I can think, from a very young age, I was always someone that was driven by a goal. And I think I'll give you a quick story to
Love
kind of
stories.
show you where that started. I remember, I'm from Jamaica. I've been living in Canada for 7 years now. But I remember growing up in Jamaica, I came from very humble beginnings. My parents were the typical workers, not a rich background or anything, but they did their best to give us a good life and good schooling and everything. So, you always would have your basic needs. But when it concerned like, taking on extracurricular activities and stuff like that, the money wasn't there for that. So you
Mhm.
know that, you were just thankful and appreciative of the things that they were able to provide for you. And I remember my first experience, it was a church camp that I wanted to go to. And typically I wouldn't ask for these things because I know, they don't have the extra money to pay for these things. And I said to them, Mom, Dad, I really want to go to this camp. Do you think that you could afford to send me? And back then it was 1,500 Jamaican dollars to pay for the camp. And it might not be a lot of money now, but back then 1,500 was a lot of money. And they were like, yeah, sure, you could go, but how are you going to pay for it? I was
classic Jamaican parent response.
typical Jamaican parent
Mhm.
response, right?
Mhm.
I think I was around 12, 13, thereabouts. So
Pretty
clearly
young.
I had no way of paying for it. So that was kind of their way of saying yes and no. And I can remember that was the first like challenge that I took on. I was like, well, I'm going to this camp. So by the hook or the crook, I have to find the funds to go. And I said that to them, but parents, they probably figure, yeah, after a while, she will just forget about it. And I remember I started going around asking, family friends for donations and stuff like that. And I remember one of my uncles gave me $100. And I was like, what can I do with this to make some more money? And he used to work at Sunshine Snacks. I don't know if you're familiar with Sunshine Snacks, but they pretty much sell like peanuts and different kids snacks and stuff like that. And I remember I said to him, okay, you know what? Instead of giving me the 100 in cash, I'll take $100 worth of honey roasted peanuts. Because at the time, honey roasted had just launched in Jamaica. Everybody loved it and it was a hot seller. I want to tell you that I was able to, I don't even remember how much I was selling it for at the time, but I know that I was able to sell off the entire bag of peanuts within no time. I took that money, bought some more, ended up making more than the $1,500 that I needed for the camp. And by this time, I was like, should I use it to go to camp or should I continue to grow my peanut business?
I love it. What a great story.
So I think for me, it might seem like a simple story or a trivial story, but that I think was the turning point or the driving force that made me who I am today. Because what that proved to me is that, once I set my mind to achieve something, no matter what I need to do, I'm going to achieve it. And that one impact at such a young age, I think, has transcended throughout my journey to where I am today. Being a wife, a mother, a working professional, the founder and leader of Pegcity Steppers. A lot of those values and lessons that I would have learned growing up in Jamaica, going through high school, going through university, I think I've taken that and that has helped to make me into the person I am today, someone that's driven, someone that's inspired to achieve more. Phyllis will tell you, like, I'm always wanting to achieve something else or to push myself to something else that I thought not possible to prove that I'm capable of doing it. So I hope that answers your question and gives you a little
great answer.
nutshell of who I am and my beginnings.
Yeah, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Rich answer. Thank you for that story. When you mentioned so many things, my mind is going to, but first of all, I want to talk about the little tidbit in there. It seems like it's in your blood, this entrepreneurial spirit, this hustler mentality, you're like that innate need to just be able to accomplish your goals. It sounds like it's just in you. And, it's a rare quality to have. People are not as easily motivated these days. So for you to have that is inspiring to even hear.
Thank you.
But a lot of it comes from your mental power. I'm hearing a lot of it is how you think and how you view things, because you saw that challenge that was presented to you, and as opposed to getting discouraged, you took that as like a fire in you to do something, right? So I want to just dial in on that, because that power there is something that us humans can harness and use to accomplish things that we can't even imagine, right? So I want to know if you can share any, and like I said, it might just be in your blood, but maybe there's some tidbits you could share with the audience. Is there anything specific, any techniques that you found that help you to cultivate that mindset, that help you to achieve those things? Or how do you go about any strategies or anything along those lines?
Well, you know what, for me, one of the things that I've always been big on is setting goals. I'm sorry, I wasn't on the other side of the room because I would have showed you my vision board that I did up, and I have it right behind my desk. I try to, like, every facet of my life, whether it be physical, spiritual, family, like every aspect of my life, I do a brain dump at the beginning of the year. What do I want to achieve this year? And from that big brain dump, I try to break it down into smaller goals, smaller, more attainable goals, and when do I want to achieve these things by. If it's a financial goal, let's say I'm trying to pay down some debt, I literally would go through, add up all of my expenses, set a realistic timeline to say, okay, by the next 6 months, I want to aggressively work on these things. So for me, that's one of the key techniques that I use, having that big picture of where I want to be in the next few months or next few years, and also breaking them down into smaller, more attainable goals that I can work towards, whether it be weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever the case might be. And I find that that gives you a clear mental picture of, or roadmap of where you want to get to. Because, when you actually start to execute an action, you'll realize that there are so many different things coming at you. And if you don't have a clear roadmap or a clear picture of where you want to get to, you can easily get distracted. So one important tip that I'd want to share is to have clear goals that you want to attain. The second thing that I find works well for me is, surrounding yourself with a community. And I guess that kind of hints to why Pegcity Steppers was birthed, because, especially moving to a new country where you don't have a lot of people around you that you're familiar with. You don't have that circle that you can, easily tap in to get advice, because, the saying that goes, no man is an island. Like, you might feel you know everything, but sometimes there's a topic that you probably didn't think about this perspective, and you
Absolutely.
can, bounce it off somebody. Phyllis can tell you that even up to recently, we had that interaction where, I'd reach out to her and I was sharing with her some things that I was dealing with. And, she gave me some valuable information that I wasn't even thinking about myself. And just by having that conversation with her, I was able to, like, do things differently. So for me, that's very important. Having a sounding board, having that community where you can surround yourself with positive people, because, you need that. It helps you in all aspects of your life.
100%.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to
What? No, you go ahead,
no,
Phyllis.
is there another thing that you do? We want to hear it. So we're just hanging on to every word here. Go ahead, please.
Um, for me, and within recent times, I was sharing with Phyllis too that within recent times I've been struggling with this. But one of the things I try to also do is to be able to disconnect and to deal with the physical and the mental elements. Because a lot of times, especially when people see you as a strong person, somebody that's always planning, somebody that's always after their goals, you know, sometimes it can get you can get like led away with that, because you're dealing with your own issues or mental things that you need to deal with. But because people see you as this strong person, you're trying to put up that strong front, and not realizing that I need to deal with me, the person, the physical, the mental, the emotional. So that's one of the things that I try to also do. But as I tell Phyllis, I was like, I'm struggling because it's so hard
It's a journey.
sometimes.
You're just
Yeah,
on a
to
different path of the journey, right? That's what it is.
the journey, like managing family, managing work, managing Pegcity, managing all of these different hats that I wear. Sometimes you get so caught up in it that you don't disconnect and find time for the physical and mental. So I'm guilty of that as well. But
100%.
one tidbit is that you have to focus on that, because without a clear mind, without a sound body, you can't go after all of these goals and dreams that you want to achieve. So for me, that's like one of the biggest tips that I would leave and share with your followers as well as for myself, because
What you're saying there is gold, Shana. I want to pick up on a couple things. So let me go back to the mental picture. We all have heard the saying, if you can see it, you will achieve it. And that is something that I heard you said, creating that mental picture when you're setting your goals, having that vision board. And again, I just really wanted to flag that because sometimes people have goals. We all have dreams. We all have goals. But I think one of the things that separate those who actually achieve their goals from those who say they have a goal and they want to achieve it, but they just can't seem to achieve it, is the ability to see it even before you actually have it in the physical, in the touch. You can see it, smell it, right? Use the
Yes.
senses. You should be able to
Yes.
see it in the head, in the heart. And when head and heart are connected, honestly, it just becomes like, I don't know, butter on a hot pallet. It just melts
Mhm.
away all those berries.
I
I
love
don't even know
that. I
where,
love that
you know what I'm
one.
saying? Butter on a
I love
hot
that.
pallet, right? And
Yeah.
so that's something I really think our community, I know that they would find value in hearing that, and the fact that as someone who is as entrepreneurial as you are, managing multiple priorities, the other thing that you said that really resonated with me, and it's something that I myself had to learn to not do, is to live up to people's ideas and sort of the way they see me, and
Yes.
literally start saying, hey, I would love to get some feedback. Hey, I am feeling a bit, challenged here. I need some help. But it took me years to learn to do that, Shanna. And so
Yeah.
again, that is something I think is critically important that we tease out and let others know. Don't be fooled by the fact that we're doing a lot of things. We're humans. You
Definitely.
said it, no one is an island. We need people. We need to be given feedback. We need to be reminded that, you know what? It is okay to feel whatever it is you're feeling in this particular moment.
Exactly. Exactly. Because that's ultimately how you're going to grow. Because
Absolutely.
if you don't like accept that feedback and try to see how you can incorporate that into your life and change, then it's like you're just going nowhere.
Absolutely. Hamster on a wheel. Very busy,
Yeah.
but just not
Yeah.
accomplishing much. So I had to
Exactly.
get in there, Aramara, and say that. I was just too good to not tease out. Yeah.
Nope, no worries.
Mhm.
I was just thinking to myself that you are, you're halfway there, believe it or not. I don't know if you even heard yourself say that because you said you pause to create goals at the top of every year. You pause to set those aspirations, right? So you're pausing and
Mhm.
that same strategy you just need to apply in other areas of your life is what it sounds like. So
True.
you have the mentality down in a
True.
area.
I think I have that part down, the part, and I was sharing this with Phyllis the other day. And you
Yes.
know what? Sometimes I'll just share this. Like sometimes when people think of pausing or being mindful, they imagine that you have to be sitting upright in a yoga position and listening to
Lotus
the
position.
spa
Mm.
music, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
my pause is I have my phone, I have my notebook, I have my thing, and I'm like, okay, what do we got to do? I'm just thinking to myself, like pause can look different. And that's actually such a good point, Shanna. Pause
yeah,
Absolutely.
is different for everyone, as long as well, the only requirement is you need to be alone, right? You need to be alone, but regardless of what that looks like, sitting cross-legged, laying down, you just need to be at peace with yourself
at
and
peace.
reflecting
And I
on your
think that's what it is. It's not even necessarily the aloneness, because one of our previous guests, Daniel, remember that interview, that amazing
yeah.
conversation with Daniel? Daniel doesn't pause by himself. Daniel goes and plays basketball with, whether it's his children, whether it's with the youth that he's providing service to. There are others who go off by themselves, but we have others who pause with others.
With a group. I can relate to that. I
Mhm.
can totally relate to that because I'll tell people, like whenever I'm meeting up with Peg City Steppers on a Saturday or Monday, or I'm planning an event for Peg City Steppers, although technically I'm doing work, mentally I'm at pause because I'm not thinking about the kids that I have to go plan something for school, or I'm not thinking about the work deadline that I need to meet, or I'm not thinking about dinner that I need to go and cook.
There you go.
I'm just thinking about what
Moment.
brings me joy in this moment.
Yes,
And I
that
think
is
that's,
pausing.
yeah, that's and it, like, in talking to Phyllis this week, it really made me stop and think. And I'm like, maybe I am pausing, but just not in the way I was visualizing how that should look or feel like. You know what I
Mhm,
mean?
mhm, mhm. And Shana, again, I just want to acknowledge you for saying that simply because what really transpired me creating pause, two things. It's something that served me over the last 20 odd years, and it really helped brought me to a place where I can truly be in that moment, as you said, and
Yeah,
just be. There are things that used to just rattle me, and I would just go off, and then I feel badly, person or people that I'm with, they feel badly, etc. Just lose lose. It was lose lose all the
yeah,
way around. So that was one thing. Pause has worked amazingly well for me for the last, I'm going to say about 21, 22-ish years that I've been pausing. But the second reason why I created pause is for leaders like yourself. Leaders, I lead an organization, you lead an organization. We're leaders in our lives, because the first person we lead is always ourselves. Like
yeah.
we're a first employee of ourselves, right? And so, what you said there is so powerful that I want leaders, and we're all leaders. Some of us have formal titles, some of us have the informal titles, mother, father, name the titles that we have.
Yeah.
And that brings with it a certain degree of responsibility, right? And a number of responsibilities. And so, learning these things about ourselves help us become better leaders in those
Yes.
situations, in those capacities. And so I wanted leaders, formal, informal leaders, to know that they too are either pausing. Our job here with IMR and myself is to really bring that awareness to them.
Yes.
Mm.
And then the ones who say, hey, I've been trying XYZ, but I want to get it to a deeper level, we're also here to capture those and show them that here are some ways that we can go down using those pillars. You talked about the mental pillar, the emotional pillar, spiritual, physical pillar. Those are four aspects of us that help
Mm-hmm.
shape us, our actions or behaviors, you name it, right? So yeah,
Yes.
you're just a ball of wisdom here. And I know our community would appreciate that very much. I know I am appreciating it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. You have blessed me so far, and we're only halfway through. So let's keep rolling. And I'm honestly, I'm thinking of my day today, and I know Phyllis already knows this, but my day was like I haven't had a day like this in a long time, where it's just so much was expected of me. Errands had to be run, work had to be done, appointments needed to be made. And now I'm here talking to these lovely people. Internally, I could use some pausing. Like I'm like, a little bit flustered, but it's great to be around these you calm, cool, calm, collected personalities that are bringing me back.
We're pausing together.
We're pausing. And like for you, Shana, the community. We're here
Yes.
in community, pausing, even if it's just for this hour or so. We're doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
So that I guess that kind of segues into my next question, because like today, uh, it was a day that I definitely needed to pull back and pause. So I just guess I have to ask you the same thing. Have you, or I guess how recently have you experienced a moment in life where everything around you was telling you, you need to stop right now. You need to go pause. You need to collect yourself. Whether it was on a run at Peg City Steppers, or a work related situation. And I guess how did that impact your experience overall when that was asked of you internally?
Um, you know what? I can think of so many situations, but even today, like even just using today as an example, similar to you, today was and physically demanding and emotionally demanding day. I had a deadline that I needed to make to submit a report for 12. And I just wasn't getting there, right? Calls coming in, I couldn't get that focus to get it done. And I started feeling so flustered and overwhelmed. I needed to leave to go pick my kids up for swimming and get back here in time for the interview. And I found myself just feeling so overwhelmed and anxious, which I've been feeling a lot quite recently, just navigating the whole life and all of the different demands. And what I've found is that sometimes you try to force a situation in. You try to say, you know what, I have to make this deadline. I have to do this because if I don't do it, this is going to happen. And you start thinking about all the negative things.
Mhm.
And I was looking at the time is going away. And I'm like, if I don't leave now, it's going to have a ripple effect on everything else. And I had to just pull back, as you said. I said, you know what, I'm going to call the person that I need to make this deliverable to. And I'll explain the situation to say, you know what, today was just not a very good day for me. I'm struggling to meet this deadline. I know you need it for your meeting tomorrow, but can I have until tomorrow morning to present this to you? And, the response was way different than what I expected it to be. He was very understanding, very accommodating, and he was like, no problem. I totally understand. And what that did for me was it gave me the time to breathe, because a lot of times you're trying to get things done, not just at work, but even in your personal life. And you're trying to force the situation to do it now, do it now. But sometimes if you take a step back, examine the full situation, it allows you to see the bigger picture and to breathe and to then attack it with fresh eyes and a fresh mindset. So, I try to use I
That's
try to
powerful.
take that approach, not just in the work situation, but even in my own personal life. If something is just not working now, I go for a run. And what that does is allows me to take a step back while I'm running. I'm thinking about different ways that I can look at the solution. I mean, the problem, coming up with solutions for it. And by the time I'm back addressing it, is like, you're looking at it with a different mindset,
Different set of eyes, you
different set
bet.
of eyes. Exactly. And you get to achieve it more quicker than trying to look at it with the same narrow lens.
Mhm, mhm.
So, yeah, pulling back and looking at the big picture, it's so important, super, super important.
It is
So Phyllis,
critical.
oh, okay.
I want to just tag on to that because that's just too good for us
I
to leave
felt
it at that.
like
Okay?
you were
This is going to be a
leaving.
long episode.
I don't want to forget. I have to write down what I want to say.
Write it out. It's powerful. So, pause is both a tool and a way of being. So, it's PAUSE, the person or people. A
Mhm.
is asking critical questions, which is what you did. So you're seeing the situation for what it is. You're the person in the moment at today. And there's this other person who, if I reached out to them and say, hey, XYZ, this is what's happening. Can I get an extension? Right? You saw the response. It was powerful. So you ask for that, that little leverage for you
Yeah,
too. And then the you is to underscore with your values. So you could have quickly put that report together, whatever it is, but knowing that it's not your best work,
exactly. Exactly.
but it's
It's as if you heard what I said.
been around the block many, many times. I have done that myself. I have learned. And Shana, I work with a lot of leaders, and these are the things that we unpack in our coaching sessions. And so, yes, there's a deeper value that's guiding you and driving you. So that's the you in pause. Whatever we do, we come at it with those values. And the only way we can tap into them is to do what you did today. You gotta
Yeah,
set, you said step back, see that, look at it from a big picture, and then say,
yeah,
okay, how can I hone in on this particular area? I am going to ask for an extension. I'm going to ask for an
yes,
extension so that you can fulfill your deep value of putting your best work forward and seeking that deeper understanding that I need to pause now. Take
Yes,
that breath, as you said, to breathe, right? To step
exactly.
back. And you're likely evaluating. That's the E in pause. And so it is a tool that we use to guide, and it's also a way of being. Most people can relate to hearing the word pause. We know it. It's on our
Yes.
phones, on our computers. Pause. So it's super, super powerful what you've just said here. So thank you for that. And such beautiful vulnerability, sharing the those emotions, feeling anxious, feeling overwhelmed, and it's like too much going on. I got to step back.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's critical. Imar, back to you.
Yes. I don't want to give away too much because we spoke about this in a different episode with another amazing guest, and he had mentioned just a little bit, Phyllis, I'm not going to give it all the way, but he mentioned how in the workplace that adults have very small vocabulary. So it's like, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm this or that. And so I am seconding to what Phyllis has already mentioned, the fact that you're being so vulnerable with these big words that are so real. Um,
Mhm.
I truly appreciate it because I'm also someone who is, I feel like we're on the same wavelength when it comes to being intentional about pausing. So thank you for that. And
Thank
also
you.
going back to what you had mentioned, you spoke about how in your mind it was racing and coming up and drawing all these conclusions that in reality the solution was communication, right? And so
Exactly.
I just wanted to hone in on that because we talk about the mental pillar and how our mind rarely tends to stay in the present moment. And it's usually ruminating on the past or the future. And so I think this is a very important takeaway where we, in a way, have to train our thoughts. That's what I'm
Mhm.
getting from this. We really have to
Yes.
train our thoughts and capture our thoughts and not allow them to be captains of our lives, right? Because if
I
they're
love that.
it ultimately they could have controlled your life, right? In that very moment,
Mhm.
Yes.
they could have led you to submit something that wasn't worth submitting.
Was subpar. Exactly.
They could have led you to do anything, but you took control over your thoughts. You trained
Yeah.
them in the moment and you said, you know what, I'm going to stick to my values, as Phyllis said, and you did what you had to do. So I appreciate that. Was so beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Phyllis.
That's
Thanks.
awesome. Awesome.
Actually, I
Awesome.
love that. I'll definitely use that quote that you just said about being captain of your mind. And that's
Uh-huh.
so important, you know. Like if you really listen to your mind all the time, it will tell you some
You cannot trust you
things.
can't
You
trust
can't
it.
trust it all the time. So you really have to be like in control of your
So
thoughts
true.
and your feelings and your emotions to
Mhm.
really guide you the way you want to
Mhm.
go or where you want to get to.
And it's that degree of awareness that
Hmm.
allows us to be that captain of our minds as opposed to the
Yeah.
thoughts being the captain of our mind. And
Yes.
so there's a quiz that's going to come up in this month's newsletter, right, Ayamara,
Yeah.
where
Hmm.
it's from one of our books, Mind Matters,
Hmm.
and just looking at some inner world solutions for outer world results. And so we've given our community one of the assessments, which is on the mental pillar, and it
Yeah.
asks some questions around what you've just said there, the thoughts, and sometimes they seem so real and they
Mhm.
seem so powerful and so right that I should take action on them. But practicing pausing is a way in which we can, as Ayamara said, be the captain of our mind and not allow the thoughts. So the quiz will help folks to do a little bit of assessment there. So
So excited for
Yeah.
people to get that in their inboxes. It's yeah, absolutely fantastic. I took the quiz
mhm.
myself and I scored. I surprised myself with the score. So you never know.
Pleasantly, I'm sure.
Well, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Well, Phyllis,
Wow.
I will let you take it.
Okay, so let's see. We talked a little bit about a whole bunch. I'm going to say at this point, before we go into rapid fire questions, where we're just going to have some fun, asking you some fun questions here, Shanna, why don't we turn it over to you? Because we still haven't really heard much about Peg City Steppers. And I am proud member of Peg City Steppers. I haven't been going out stepping every Saturday morning, but I step every day. And
Yes,
yes, I do. And she knows I get my steps in. But
I know.
so why don't we turn it over to you? Tell us a bit about Peg City Steppers, and then anything else that you'd like for us and our community to know about you and Pegcity Steppers?
Sure, for sure. So Pegcity Steppers, as I like to tell people, it started out as a group of friends just wanting to stay active during the cold winter months. And I'm not sure, I think you're in Toronto, IMR, but Winnipeg winters, they're not pretty. So imagine a group of
Horrendous.
friends from the Caribbean starting a running/walking group in minus 20 something degrees in January. But
Yeah.
for us, when I started it, I didn't initially envision it to be what it is today. I just saw it as a way for a group of friends to stay active and to drive our own personal goals and endeavors through movement. But, as the group evolved, we realized that there was a need in the community to have this type of movement here in Winnipeg, because you had a lot of persons, not just newcomers, but persons who might be just starting out on their fitness journey, who may feel intimidated to join like a more established group where, they figure, well, I'm going to be at the back, I'm going to be holding back people at the front, or just that general fear. So we wanted to create that community where people could come, go at their own pace. As our motto says, keep it moving. That's the main mindset that we want people to have when they come to Pegcity Steppers, not just from a physical standpoint, but also in every aspect of your life. So, you might think the command is a directive, keep it moving, don't stop running, don't stop walking. But if you think about it from like a holistic perspective, keep it moving from a mind matter. It means, don't dwell on things that might hold you back, or don't dwell on rejection, don't dwell on failures. Learn from those things and keep it moving, keep growing. So, that's some of the core values that we try to share in our community, to say, you're capable of doing hard things. So keep pushing, keep trying. And I think that, having those values and the positive influence that we've created in the community is what has led to the success of Pegcity Steppers today. We have grown from a member of five persons within the group to now we have about 60 members,
And growing every
and
day. I see
growing
new
and
members coming
growing.
in.
It just grew by one more. I'm just saying. Just gotta say.
See, you just got another one.
Exactly. So, it has grown into a strong community where we not just move on a Monday and on a Saturday, but we also do various community service events. We give back to our local community. Each year we go to the Christmas Cheer Board, where we help to deliver Christmas hampers. Just recently we had a charitable fundraiser for women who might be going through violence at home, or in need of like feminine hygiene products and stuff like that. So we try our best to give back to our community as well, because we recognize that although we have that positive influence and that community around us, not everyone has that. And we want to be able to create that safe space and, feelings of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like hope and encouragement for others as well.
And you feel belong. It doesn't matter if it's your first time out with Pegcity Steppers, and I can speak to this because, as I said, I'm one of the steppers. Your first
Yes.
time, your 10th, your 5th, your 3rd, you feel belong. And there's always someone to just connect with you. And I think that what you're doing there is allowing again that moment in those, it's an hour's worth of walking that we do at our own pace, but we're pausing with each other as fellow humans
Yeah.
and connecting on that human to human level. And I really think what you've done there Shana, with Pegcity Steppers is worth just getting it out and letting Winnipeg know, Manitoba know, and elsewhere, because I can see Pegcity Steppers, Edmonton, blah, blah, blah,
Definitely.
Calgary, all over,
Toronto, Calgary.
Toronto, all over, Montreal, right?
Yes,
Because
definitely.
going back to what you said, no one is an island. And
Yes,
I've seen women who come out and they said, oh, I came because a girlfriend of mine, she's been coming. And she said, no, 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 you can come. You don't have to be a runner. You don't have to be,
exactly.
like going whatever. Just come, and you
Just
come
come.
and be you and walk at your own pace. And they said,
Exactly.
I love it. So this is beautiful community building that you're doing. And again, I'm taking a page out of Ayamara's her theater world day. This is how they applause out.
Yeah. Wow. No, honestly, I'm sounding cliche because I say this at the end of every episode because we have such amazing guests. But truly, Shana, my heart is full. Even just hearing you explain, you can hear the passion in your voice. You could hear the fire and the genuineness.
It's real.
Just real, So I'm really grateful to be on this call and to share this, to allow you to talk and share your story with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, so definitely look out for me. I'll probably tag along with Phyllis, or I don't know, we'll figure something
We'll
out. But
hook up.
I'm going to hold you to it.
Yeah, yeah.
actually,
And I know
Phyllis is booked and busy for the summer, so it might just be me. Okay, she's doing her thing all summer. So,
I'm missing Pegcity. I haven't been out in many Saturdays because
yeah.
I've just been facilitating workshops and traveling and so on. But
Yes,
boy, I am looking forward to coming out and just being with all of you. There's so many beautiful things that we do, so it's awesome.
definitely.
So
But
anything,
Phyllis, whenever you come, it's like you've never left. So
oh
yeah,
man, that's what I mean, Ayamara. You don't have to like, oh my gosh, it's been so long, I shouldn't go. Nope. You go and it's like you never left. You
Mm,
just pick up right where you left off. It's
love it.
such a beautiful community.
I'm
Yeah,
excited.
it's a powerful community. So yeah, you've done really well there with that, Shanna, and such
thank you
incredible
so much.
leadership,
Thank
that
you.
you've displayed. So any last points or so that you'd like to tease out and share with our community before we subject you to our rapid fire questions?
Well, for me, it's just to reiterate the key points that I would have shared earlier. Setting goals, whatever it is that you want to achieve. It might seem difficult, but set those goals. Have a clear roadmap of where you want to get to. But while you're journeying on that road, just take the time to pause, take the time to reflect and see what you have accomplished and celebrate that.
Mhm.
Because oftentimes we get so caught up in the end goal that we don't take time to celebrate and appreciate the progress that we have made along the way.
That's huge.
So well said. That is sage advice. Sage. In fact, I had a senior leader this afternoon that we were in a coaching session, and that is what he was reiterating, the importance of those small wins,
Yeah.
celebrating those
Yes.
small wins. So,
Yes.
mm, mm, mm. So I know you said this, but we're just going to ask you again because it's so darn good. How do you actively work to bring your mind back to the present moment during times of stress or distraction? So we're really focusing here on the mental pillar. And as we said earlier, it likes to ruminate in the past or jump ahead to the future. So just very quickly, what's maybe one other thing that you might do or just even reiterate what you've already said? What do you do to keep yourself focused?
One of the things I love to do,
This
and
is going to be good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what is it? What is it?
it's simple. It's so simple, but I find it so impactful. Each time, like wherever it might be, if I'm dropping the kids to school, once I've dropped them, I stop for like 5 minutes, sit there, and I do nothing. I just sit there.
And you say you don't pause.
I just sit there and I'm
You
like,
just rat it out
I
yourself.
should be
You told
driving.
on
I
yourself.
should be driving, but that simple 5 minute pause before I drive back to start the day, it always works. It's like golden.
Oh,
There you go. Here you have it, people. Shana has admitted she is a frequent pauser.
She's a frequent pauser. Love
Oh,
that.
oh boy.
Oh man, that is too
You didn't
good.
even know you did it. That's funny. That's pretty funny. You didn't even know. It just came to you naturally.
You just do it so subconsciously. And it's when Phyllis asks me, and I'm like, pause. How do I pause? I don't know. I don't pause. I'm always going.
Oh, that's
You're a
amazing.
pauser. You definitely, especially after today's episode, you will be one of our pause ambassadors.
Definitely. I'm definitely going to be more mindful. And whenever I'm in the car and I'm pausing, I'm going to be thinking about you guys.
You bet. We'll be thinking about you in the morning.
No kidding.
Probably
Yeah.
pausing around now. So.
Okay, well, so that was the mental pillar. So now a little bit the emotional pillar. This is where this is about the relationships with ourselves and our significant others. That's the main focus. So in what ways do you prioritize self-care and maybe nurture your relationship with yourself and others on a daily basis?
On a daily basis. Wow. That's a tough one. Well, I thought we were coming to the end of the interview. You're giving me all these hard questions at the end.
We still have a few minutes.
Whatever comes to mind, that's the truth. Whatever first comes to
what comes to mind. And that is what our community would really appreciate rather than sort of a cultivated response. It's just like really what comes to mind, you know?
Yeah. You know what? I don't know if I don't do this daily. I told Phyllis before I came on. For me, like, because you're always doing so much and you're always like driven by a deadline, I find sometimes I just keep going overboard until the body says enough is enough. That's one bad thing that I do.
But no judgment. We'll just say
no judgment.
No judgment at all. It is what it is.
As charged.
But if I think about it on a daily basis, one thing I do try to do is for me, I need to get minimum 5 hours sleep. If I don't have 5 hours sleep, when I'm up the next day, I'm groggy, can't function. So even if I'm going to bed at 1 o'clock, I'm counting, all right, let me see, 5 hours.
I like that.
Good.
Again, the goal, right?
Or I count backwards, say, okay, I have to be up by X time, so I need to be in bed by this time. And I literally have alarms on my phone. Like Phyllis will tell you, if you're calling me by 8 or 9, don't expect me to answer because my phone has gone into do not disturb mode.
Beautiful.
You know what?
But for me, that was one of the ways that I was able to set that boundary because, I'm guilty of, okay, I have to get this done today. Let me do. Or the phone is on and you're getting text messages. You want to check it. You want to check email. I want to make a post on Instagram because I also manage the social media page for Pegcity. So you're trying to, keep up with all of these demands. So for me, what I had to do was to implement like practical ways where I can disconnect by a certain time so that this is where I take my pause. This is where I get some rest so that I'm getting that minimum 5 hour sleep.
Major pause ambassador you are.
Truly, you are. And so the answer to that is sleep, right? That's
sleep.
That you do on a daily basis. That's what you prioritize your self-care. You make sure that nobody's getting through to your phone X time to X time. And that's your way. And that's beautiful. That's such an honest response.
I love it. And this is Shana. This is why we had to have Shana on our podcast here, because we know the richness, the beauty and the depth and just the realness, like totally real. This is who she is. As it, no pretending. It's a pretense. So I'm going to veer off a little bit and ask you about what is one book that you've read, Shana, that you just feel everybody should read that book? I know.
Why you want to embarrass me on the podcast and let people know?
Okay, we can delete this part. We'll delete this part.
I love it. We're keeping it. If you let us, Shana, we'll keep it.
You know what? To be truthful, like I'm not a big, I bought some books, some motivational books, I think the beginning of the year on audio. I'm not a big physical book, like tangible book. I like to
Mhm.
listen to audiobooks. So
Nice.
sometimes like when I'm working, I'll put some encouraging something on and listen to it. I find I get through it quicker that way than
Mhm.
trying to read because once I always wait until the end of the night when I'm almost ready for bed and I'll read 2 pages.
Yeah, you're out like a
Your
light.
bed.
But that's why they have audiobooks for people with different lifestyles. You
There
need
you
the,
go.
you need
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah. But I tell you though, I'm sure there's a book because I think we've all read a book that we're like, oh my goodness, everyone should read. Whether as a young child growing up, it doesn't even have to be in recent times. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
I'm going to
Good.
share mine, even though nobody asked. Um,
Mara, which book have you read that you just feel everyone should read this book?
so I read this, I want to say when I was maybe 18 or 19. It's the 7 habits of effect.
Highly
Highly effective people.
people.
I
See,
listened to the
Shanna, you
audiobook.
read it.
I listened to the
Yeah,
audiobook.
You listened to the
changed
audio,
my
eh?
life. Like it actually changed my life.
Huge.
I
Stephen
don't know what
Covey.
other words to explain that book. Pivotal
True,
Powerful.
moments. Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. I have
yeah.
the I have the
There it is,
physical
right
copy.
there. Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have the physical copy on my bookshelf and I ended up buying the audiobook because I wasn't finishing the physical.
Mhm.
As long as you read it, that's, yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's powerful. There's one book that I read, seeing that no one asked me, but
Sorry for
I'm
listening.
just
Let
putting.
us know. Let us
Oh, thank you for asking. So there's so many books because I do read, but there's this one I read. It's called The Power of Intention by Dr.
know.
Wayne Dyer. And it's a book that made me do a 180
Mm.
and really propelled me. I was already on this path, but it really just pushed me in a beautiful way into going deeper into this sort of, self-reflection and practice and so on. And it's all about learning to, as you said it, Shanna, very beautifully, being able to see what it is that you desire, what it is
Yeah.
that you want to really bring into your life. And that's intention. Intention is this amazing, it's not bulldog attitude or anything. It's the
Mm-hmm.
ability to create inside first what you desire. And
Mm-hmm.
through using powerful self reflection and just learning how to connect with self and others, you bring that into reality. I discovered that book in 2008 and
Mm.
made me do a 180. In fact, yeah, I go to it to this day. Every now and again, it's very close at hand, so I can always pull. And I just open a page and I'll read it because it's just so rich in terms of just the guidance and the wisdom
Yeah.
around learning how to pause so that we can hear the amazing lessons, teachings, and such that's coming into us. It's always coming. But if we're
Always.
going, sometimes we miss them.
You
So,
miss it, definitely. So now
mhm.
you know I'm going to have to go and buy that audiobook, Phyllis, because
And
you have
it
just
is
sold.
available in audio. So happy reading. And yeah, it talks about the 7 phases of intention. They're powerful, powerful 7 steps. So I won't say anymore. Dr. Wayne Dyer, no longer on this earth, but has left a legacy in terms
Yes,
of just the teachings that he's given us.
definitely.
So yeah. So really, this brings us to the end of our pause. There are other questions we could ask you, but I think everything that you've provided us has been just so rich. And I know that even though you and I, we just connect so well, Ayamara. We've had some pretty deep chats, but in this space here, I'm seeing another side of you, and it's that powerful, real, vulnerable leader called Shana that is coming out. And I think our community is going to just absolutely appreciate you for this authenticity that you bring. And so I just want to say thank you for just
Thank
being
you.
with us.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you
Yay.
so much.
Our pleasure.
Thank you, Shana.